Tom, a couple positions have been filled since you and I last spoke. You were on Pat McAfee earlier this week, talking about Kellen Moore, and said you were so lucky and happy he was available. Why was he the right fit for offensive coordinator?
I think for a lot of reasons. First of all, yeah, we were just really lucky he was available. That one kind of came out late in the process. But I think you have to look at a lot of different things. Like one, like the style of offense that he runs and likes to run, I think kind of fits where we are right now. And then what he did in Dallas, I mean, if you look at each year he was a coordinator, I mean, you're looking at like a really highly level, really proficient offense that can move the ball in a variety of ways. So I think that was important. And then just, his communication skills, how he works with the players and the coaches, and what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, he's just really clear and concise with what he's looking for. Because every offense is different. They all require a different style of player in different positions. And he's really clear with what he's looking at, but also flexible enough to know that, look, we have some really good players here right now that fit what we can do, but we're excited about them.
Obviously, you've had some time now to work together, but what have those conversations and collaborations been like so far?
It's more been me asking about Dallas and what they did, and because it's great that you can learn from other people coming from different teams. That's the one thing when you have some new people come in, it's just different ideas, how they did things, what worked, what didn't work. So those have been really the conversations really so far, and then we'll get more into like our players, and then we'll get into draft pretty soon here.
He had some familiarity with Justin leading into this. He did a couple commercials together.
Which I think is nice. I mean, we kind of joke about it, but I think it was nice that there is some familiarity there. I mean, it's a big change for Justin, obviously. He's gone through some different coordinators before, but at least to know Kellen a little bit. And the fact that Kellen played quarterback in college at a really high level, played in the NFL, they're going to see the same things. Like whatever happens on the field, when Justin comes off the field, because more than likely Kellen will probably coordinate from the sidelines, they can talk, and when they're talking, like Kellen knows what he's seeing on the field because Kellen's been in that spot. He's been in the huddle. He's been looking at the players, as far as giving the calls in the huddle, and then what the defense shows. So I think that's important with that relationship, and that will continue to grow over the next couple of years. So
Derek Ansley gets elevated to DC. What went into that decision?
Watching him coach the last couple of years, we could tell that he's really good at what he does. Like as a secondary coach, how he communicates with the players, how he relates to them, how he teaches. He's so fundamentally sound in how he teaches the position. And then you can see that he has a really good grasp for everything that goes on, not just the secondary, as far as tying it to the linebackers, tying it to the defensive line. He's held a position at a high level in the SEC, so he's done it before. And he knows our defense really well because he's been here. He knows Brandon. So I think that was a really important part of it. We're excited to watch his career kind of grow from here.
How much does that familiarity help?
I think, well, certainly in his position, because Brandon, is the head coach, but Brandon runs the defense. So to have a head coach that really knows the scheme well, that's worked with Brandon, that was a pretty big part of it.
So here we are in Indy. We thought maybe we were going to be done last year here, but we're back for the Combine. How has your process evolved during your time as a GM?
It's changed a lot post-COVID as far as finding more efficient ways to work. So that's where it's kind of changed a little bit. The Combine itself, what we go through here, it remains pretty much unchanged, except for a lot of the media type things that have really kind of increased over the years. But as far as with the players, what they go through, it's pretty much unchanged as far as all the interviews, the testing, the medical testing that we do. But as far as how we cover it, and then that's really changed, much more efficient than when we used to be, which I like. Our guys are really flexible, they're smart, there's different ways to attack things. Like, there's a lot to do this week. We got to figure out the best plan possible to get everything done we need to get done before we leave here, and that's what the guys have done.
So what is that sort of efficiency that you talk about?
I know for me, like I really trust the guys around us. So it could be, as far as putting together our interview list, how we cover the workouts, the live workouts that are going on. We get everything that's done here is videotaped, so we can watch all the workouts together. We can watch them back home, And then even when we leave here, just having Zoom nowadays makes it so much easier because we can only talk with so many players here at the Combine. But eventually we'll talk to everybody, but it may not be here. It could be by Zoom, so that's been a big part of it too.
So when you talk about those interviews, obviously they're very short, but what's the most important part and most important thing that you gain from those?
Probably you get a little bit of a feel for their football intelligence, how they learn. Like I said, it's only like 15, 20 minutes. It's very short, so you get a feel for their personality. And then we'll put them up on the board with the coaches and just kind of learn about them as far as what were they taught in college. It kind of helps us if there's some questions when we're watching game tape of why are players doing a certain thing. If we learn that, hey, this is what he's been taught at college, that helps. But we get a little feel for the football intelligence. But again, it's such a short time span. When they're talking about like the players' makeup, A lot of our information comes from the college, comes from the coaches that have coached him for 3 or 4 years, or the coaches that recruited him. That's a lot of our information. And then we'll end up talking with these players again on a larger scale for much longer than 15 or 20 minutes. But at least this is an introduction, especially for our coaches who are really just starting to get into the draft process right now.
Do you have a favorite go-to question?
Not really. Sometimes I think there's some people that they want to try a gotcha question. I don't have those. That's not the type of interview it is. But what I always like answers coming back when it's more team related. When we ask a player what his goals are, some will say it's to be a Pro Bowler, some will be a Hall of Famer, some will say I want to win a Super Bowl. I kind of like the Super Bowl answer. Doesn't mean we're going to take the other answers and throw the player out, but I like guys that kind of have that team mentality, and that's one question we ask. It's a pretty simple question. You get a simple answer, and you get a little bit of feel for the player.
Brandon said he likes to ask guys about other guys and do recon that way. That's
Yeah.
kind of got to be helpful a little bit.
You can, and
yeah.
sometimes the player may have an agenda as far as the answers he gives you, but it is good feedback of what they feel. That's a question we ask a lot at All-Star games with players, like, hey, who have you seen here that's really stood out to you? Or say you're an offensive lineman, like, who is the toughest edge rusher for you to block this week? And you get some good information from that.
So the Chargers made the playoffs, obviously. Picking in the 20s, is there a challenge to that spot at all?
A little bit, just because on average, the amount of first-round grades you have on players is usually in that 18 to 20 range. So we're at 21. So there'll be some different challenges there, but nothing we haven't seen, in the past. So, but yeah, much different than, say, picking in the top 10.
Looking at this draft class, are there any position groups or any strengths that really stand out to you?
Honestly, not so much. I mean, I know people try and break down the draft and look, this position's strong, this one's weak. I think most people kind of attribute that to where the first round is going to go. We're looking at more the whole draft from the first round to the 7th round. I think it's a really good draft, and which is great because a lot of kids went back to school this year, which is good to see. We like to see kids go back and finish their degrees. But all that being said, I've seen a lot of talent in the draft. I was just watching some Senior Bowl tape last night. They had a lot of good players there, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And then lastly, Tom, obviously this is sort of the start of this next phase of the Chargers 2023 roster, but when can we begin to maybe see some movement in terms of how that roster will take shape?
Probably mid to late March, you'll probably see a little bit of movement. It's funny, in the draft process, this is the end for us,
right,
not
that's
the beginning. True. But as far as building the team for next year, yeah, this is the planning stage where we're really talking about our own players, our own free agents, how we'll bring them back, and then any outside free agents, and then the draft. So it's all this planning period. But as far as actual movement, you're looking at mid to late March, and then obviously the draft is until later in April. And then even after the draft, last year we signed Kyle Van Noy after the draft, which was a huge signing for us. So really, it never ends. Kind of always keep our eye on it, and build all the way through till we get to training camp.
Thanks, Tom.
All right, thanks for having me.
If you want to see more content like this, check out the link right here.